Good morning. Part of being a prudent mariner is carrying the right equipment with you at all times, and more than just a first aid kit on the boat, you're going to want something that is for bleeding control. Hi, I'm Kim, and this is part of my Prudent Mariner series where I introduce to you some things that you might want to keep on the boat for safety. And one of the things I'm a big proponent of carrying, and actually my husband and I carry whether we are on the tractor, we're doing chainsaw work, if we're at the range, whatever we're doing, we carry bleeding control with us. And this is something I would say you definitely want to have with you on the boat. This is the one type of an accident, a bleeding issue accident is the type that you are the help until the help arrives, and someone will bleed out in 3 to 4 minutes. Bleeding type injury is the one thing that you definitely need some specific equipment. A bleeding control injury is one of the, I would imagine, one of the scariest things that can happen on the boat, and not having the right equipment would make it even more difficult. What I carry on the boat with me is this VanQuest bag. And in here is everything I need. This is not a first aid kit. This is simply bleeding control. Everything in here is very specific to bleeding control. On the outside I have a Gerber tool. And the reason for this choice was that it doesn't have any pointy ends. It's not something that if I'm trying to take someone's clothes off or cut through their clothing to get to a wound, to apply pressure to a wound, this isn't going to, as the boat rocks, I'm not going to stab them. So it's a very safe type tool, and it's mounted on the outside because it's probably the first thing we're going to need to go for is to get clothing off of somebody who has a wound. When I open this bag, all of our bags are set up pretty much exactly like this. Right here I have some North American Rescue gloves, and I will tell you that these do not last forever. You definitely need to replace them every couple years. And the other thing is to try them out and make sure that you're getting the size that actually fits you. In the case of an emergency, that's not the moment to realize that yours are far too large, or even worse, far too small. Moving along in the kit, the next thing I would reach for would be tourniquets. These are both Cat 7 tourniquets from North American Rescue. They simply slide out, and mine are already staged and ready to go. You'll notice that the windlass is not in the cradle. That's so that you can adjust the windlass. And the other thing that I've seen sometimes people do is they will occlude or close this Velcro that's made to hold the windlass inside the cradle, but that you want open, because you definitely want to be able to get that windlass into the cradle after you've applied pressure. I keep these set at kind of a generic size. It's about for a thigh or an arm and easy to adjust. Note about counterfeit tourniquets: you want to buy your tourniquets from someone reputable. We go straight to North American Rescue to buy them, and this is one of the places right here where you can see if they actually are an authentic tourniquet and not a counterfeit. Yes, there are counterfeit tourniquets out there. Sometimes you can tell because the stitching is not as good or the welds aren't as good, things of that nature. But something to be aware of. Don't buy from non-reputable sources. The next things that are in here is a lot of wound packing materials, a second tourniquet, because if one fails you want to apply a second one, and then also I have here an elastic bandage. This one's from Neck Skin, and this would just be to, once you've applied pressure on a wound that's not requiring a tourniquet, these are just useful for everything. Some other things that I have in here are chest seals, and this would be for quite the injury. And another important item in here is a blanket. And another important item in here is a triangular bandage, a cravat. And these are just amazing. You can use them to tie things up. You can use them as an improvised tourniquet, and an improvised tourniquet is a lot more reliable than a counterfeit tourniquet because you know that it's improvised and you're paying attention to how it works. And I believe also in here there should be a blanket, and I don't have an emergency blanket in this kit, so that's something I'm going to add to this kit probably this evening. Is I thought that was the emergency blanket. So these are just some of the basics that you could handle this type of a injury with and be successful in saving someone's life. If someone's going to bleed out in 3 or 4 minutes, you definitely want to have the equipment with you that you need in order to address that. So I'd like to encourage you to carry your own kit with you. This kit is so small. It doesn't take up much space at all. It's not really large. It's super handy, and I always let everybody know exactly where it is in my backpack. If you looked at my last video, that was what all is in my backpack that goes with me when I'm sailing. You saw this VanQuest bag in that backpack, and now you're getting to see what's actually inside here when people want to know, what do I carry? What do I carry for bleeding control? You don't need Band-Aids. You don't need a lot of that. It just needs to be exactly bleeding control items. And I think here comes a blanket. Bill is giving me a blanket because it was a spare in another kit we have with us today. So now I have one of these emergency blankets to put in here as well. That would be a real worry if someone has quite the injury, is that they would go into shock. So I hope you found this useful. I hope you subscribe so that you get notifications of my next video. I'll leave a link also to the previous one that's all what is in my bag, including this Vanquist bleeding kit, so that you can get an idea of what else you might want to carry with you. And also there are accompanying articles at Deepwater Happy at my blog at deepwaterhappy.com, articles about safe... What's this?
That's your...
Oh!
That's your... If you forget everything.
If you forget everything. Bill and I went to a Knowles Wilderness First Aid course, and this is like the radio report script. This is the what to do for different types. It's a really handy list for what to do for different types of medical emergencies, how to assess an emergency or an injury. So that's also something pretty useful to have in here if you think you're going to have time to read it in the midst of an emergency. At deepwaterhappy.com, I have a series of articles, the Prudent Mariner articles about all different type of safety drills, things that you can do to practice safety on your boat and get a routine, a procedure of what you and your crew are going to do if something unpleasant does happen. If there are topics that you would like me to cover, please let me know. Please comment below if there's anything that you think that my kit is lacking, or anything that you think in my kit is extra and not necessary, unnecessary, redundant. Please let me know below. Please comment and let me know your thoughts. Also, please let me know if there are any situations or if there are any safety events that you would like me to go over. Please click the subscription bell below so that you get notifications of my next video, and head on over to my blog at deepwaterhappy.com and see some of the safety. I've got checklists for all different types of events. Happy sailing!